Good morning, guys, and welcome back to the Computer Applications in Mechanical and Industrial Engineering. In this lecture, we'll continue what we have started on Matlab, but more specifically, we will start with arrays and matrices. So as you remember, in our first part, we did a review on matrices and arrays now, and we said that Matlab is a matrix laboratory. So now we will apply the arrays or the operation of arrays or matrices on Matlab. So we are now at this slide from Matlab overview uploaded in the resources folder. And I will open my Matlab to directly apply the slides. Because as we said, we can define any variable inside Matlab as long as it starts with letter. It can include numbers or underscores, and don't forget that Matlab is a case-sensitive software, which means capital letter differs from small letter. Now, if I want to define a row vector, what does this mean? A row vector means that I only have one line. Or if I need to define a column vector means I only have one column. These two types of matrices are called arrays. Arrays are like a table, one row or one column. So they are vectors, and I need to define them inside Matlab. So let's say I'm going to define A, and A is a row vector of three numbers, 1, 2, 3. Alright, so how to define this? There is a lot of options to define A. I'm going to start with the most simplified one, which is A is equal to 1 space 2 space 3 between brackets. So if you don't put brackets, Matlab will not understand that this is an array. And then I'm going to skip the semicolon to see it printed out on the screen, and I'm going to click on enter. So as you can see here, A is defined as 3 elements row vector. These elements are 1, 2, 3, and now here you can see in the workspace that A is defined as this row vector. Now basically I can do the same, but by using comma instead of space. Alright, so I'm gonna repeat the same command by clicking on page up, and then I'm gonna put comma instead of spaces, not semicolon, it is a comma, and then you can see that you will also have a row vector defined as A in your workspace. Now what if I need to define B while B is a column vector? Basically B is equal to, let's say, 4, 5, 6, but it is a column vector, which means it is one column, let's say 3 rows. Alright, so what I should do is to put the elements of B but separated with the semicolon. Alright, so if you do this, you will see that B will be defined as a column vector. Guys, you should practice on your Matlab, you should try different examples, and you can see that the row vector is defined either by space or by comma, while the column vector is only defined with the semicolon. Basically, the semicolon inside a matrix or an array will tell Matlab that you should go to the next row. Now what if I need to define a matrix, and this matrix has a size of 2 by 3, let's say 2 rows and 3 columns. How should I do this? Let's first define this matrix. So basically I need to define a matrix that is formed by 2 rows and 3 columns. These the elements are 1, 2, 3, and then the second row is 4, 5, 6. So how to define the C, let's say? Basically, in order to define a matrix, you should start by the first row and then put a semicolon and go to the next row. The first row will be separated by space or comma. It's up to you. And of course, between rows, you should put a semicolon. So basically, I'm gonna put spaces 1, 2, 3, semicolon, and 4, 5, 6. So this means that this is a 2 by 3 matrix. Now, if you want to make sure of the size of C, you can use what is called size. Size is a built-in function inside the library of MATLAB. And size will give me basically the output. If you indicate the input, which is here the matrix C, it will give me the output as a row vector, as you can see here, and this row vector is formed first by the number of rows. So as we said in the matrix review, you always start by the number of rows and then by the number of columns, as you can see here. Now, if I'm going to find the size of A, what do you think? What is the size of A? Remember, A is a row vector. So the size of A is, of course, 1 row, 3 columns. So this is the size of A, and the same as the size of B. No, the size of B, you should flip 3 and 1 because this is a column vector. So this is how you can find the size of any matrix. Now, if I clear all my variables and start again by defining a matrix big A, and this A is equal 0, let's say 2 minus 1, semicolon, 9, 4, 5. So basically this is a 2 by 3 matrix. If I put a size of A on MATLAB, it will give me a 2 by 3 row vector. Now, what you should know, guys, is that I can find the element of A by specifying the index. For example, A11 will give me what? A11, as we said in the review, will give me the element that is located at the first row and at the first column. So it is 0. I can say A23. Why is A23? It is the second row, the third column, which is the last element here, and it has 5. Now what if I specify the index to be 3, 3? 3 means at the third row, the second 3 at the third column. Basically, I know that this matrix has a size of 2 by 3, so there is no 3 by 3, there is no an element 3, 3, which means MATLAB here will give me an error telling me that this index is exceeding the matrix dimensions, and this means that I cannot find this element anymore. Now, what if I go back to the array? I will use small a. You can use small a because this is a case-sensitive software. So let's say small a is the first row of big A, which is A2 minus 1. And I need to find the first element of A. Now, since small a here is an array, you can only indicate one index, and the second one will be by default 1, which means if I say A of 1 only, this means the first element of A, which is here, 0. If I say A of 2 only, this is the second element, and this is 1. A of 3 is the third element, is minus 1. A of 4 will, of course, give me what? It will give me error because the index will exceed the matrix dimensions. So this means, guys, that using MATLAB, you can go to the element by index, and this is called indexing, and you can also find the elements of matrix by specifying the row number and the column number. Guys, this is not the only way to define arrays. So this is the first option where you can define your arrays explicitly by putting all the elements. There are other ways, and these ways are have some conditions. We'll talk about them in the next video.